All right, and we are back for another Delightfully Dark Discussions. Eilana and myself are here, and today we're going to talk about astral projection.
Yes. Hi, guys.
All right, so astral projection, it's kind of like a holy grail of spiritual goals because it's just so much fun.
It is.
It's amazing. It's one of the most amazing and incredible experiences you will have walking a spiritual path because it's like, okay, there's dreams, which can be amazing and fun. Then there's lucid dreams, which are even more fun because you can control them. And then there's astral projection, which is like leaving your body and going and walking around in the spiritual world, interacting, doing things, experiencing things. And it is absolutely amazing. I actually believe that everybody can astral project. I actually believe that we all astral project when we sleep and that it's kind of a natural inborn ability that we've just kind of forgotten. We are born, and as kids, a lot of kids can astral project. A lot of kids remember their astral projections too. They remember doing things. I mean, even my cousin was telling me how she used to, when she was waiting for her sister to come home from school, she'd actually leave her body and go and follow her sister home. I really believe everybody has this ability. Much like our psychic gifts though, as we grow up, we're told it's all fantasy, it's all in our head, the stuff isn't real. And so we shut it off. We close off these sides of ourselves. We close off to these incredible abilities that we have. One of the goals that we've had this year is to kind of help people to learn to astral travel and learn to project themselves out of their body and have out-of-body experiences. So we wanted to cover that in this podcast. We wanted to talk about astral projection, what it is, and also methods that we have used to get out. So Lana,
Yes.
you.
Well, okay. So what you had said about us having a natural ability as a child, I agree with that completely because I did astral project as a child. I just didn't know what I was doing. I did stop doing it, and I completely forgot about it for a very long time until I started reconnecting with the spiritual side of my life. And I was in a deep meditation one day trying to teach myself to hear them, to work on my clairaudience. And I left my body and had this incredible experience. And I knew I wasn't asleep because I did do a lot of lucid dreaming work when I was younger, and I was aware of that. But before that, I had astral projected and forgotten about it. So now I had this happen, and I had no idea what it was because it wasn't a fantasy. I had no control over what was going on around me. And it wasn't a lucid dream because I wasn't asleep, and I knew I wasn't asleep. It just felt very different. I did a lot of research, and I figured out that it was astral projection, and then I was like, how can I get this to happen again and have control over it? So that was like the main focus when I first started.
Relearning what we've forgotten.
Yes, I feel like I've done that a lot.
We have. I mean, we're naturally wise creatures. I mean, we are spiritual beings. We come here in these bodies, and it's like we forget all this. We forget all this amazing wisdom and abilities that we have.
Yes.
I actually think that's part of life here is remembering all that we've forgotten. Yeah. So you started with a simple experience of leaving your body.
Mm-hmm.
And now, what can you do with it?
I can get out very quickly, and I can either shift into the environment around me, into different layers of it. I can interact with other people who can sense energies, and I can obviously travel to the spiritual realms and explore there.
With full control.
Yes, and I've also worked to build up my senses while I'm out, because when I first started, I obviously couldn't even get out at all. I couldn't control it. I couldn't see. I was blind for part of it where everything was just really blurry.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to do a lot of different things to build up different parts.
Yeah, we're going to cover that because that's actually exactly where we want to start. It's at the beginning.
Yes.
So the steps that you took learning how to get to this level where you basically can get out really fast, you have full control.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of steps involved in that.
There were.
A lot of work that you had to do.
Yes.
So from what you've told me, you had this initial experience where you got out.
Mm-hmm.
And then you wanted to repeat it. So you researched it and you figured out it was astral projecting.
Yes.
Then you got to a point where they could pull you out.
Yes.
Explain that process.
Well, I worked with spirits and entities at that point, and I could kind of hear them. Again, my senses were not developed to what they are now. So my initial way that I would connect and try to astral project was having them pull me out. I would go into a quiet place where I wouldn't be disturbed, get into a comfortable position, not too comfortable because I didn't want to fall asleep. And I would try to connect with them and ask them to pull me out.
That's one thing a lot of people say, is that they end up falling asleep during meditations and trying to astral project. What advice do you have?
Position and timing. I tend to be a morning person, so the morning is, well, I ended up doing it at night though because that was when I had time. But if you're too tired, you're gonna fall asleep. Mm-hmm. That's been my experience because I did fall asleep sometimes. When I started. Me too. I was like, I'm just too exhausted. I really want to do this, but my body was exhausted and I needed to sleep, so I fell asleep.
The morning is actually the best time for me to do it too. Nighttime, it's hit or miss. I fall asleep sometimes. Most of the time. Especially these days. Yeah. I have 2 kids. So it's like nighttime. Yeah, my head hits the pillow and I'm just out. But no, the morning, because I usually get up between 3 and 4 a.m.
I was just going to say that, like 2 or 3 in the morning for me if I wake up.
Yeah.
Because I don't sleep a full 8 hours straight. I'll usually wake up and...
That actually is the best time.
Yes.
The gap.
In between.
Yes, the gap in between sleep. That is when I usually have the best experiences. Yeah. Because it's like I'm still tired, but I'm not tired enough that I'm going to fall back to sleep. Yeah. So it's usually a good time to just slip out and, have a bit of fun and then fall asleep again.
Yeah.
Although I usually get the most insane lucid dreams when I do fall asleep. Yeah. Which is fun in itself, too.
Yeah, lucid dreaming is fun.
Okay, back to the story. So, you got to a point where they could pull you out. Explain that. Because a lot of people I know even have trouble with that, where they can't even have another, an entity or spirit pull them out.
So for that, you would have to be able to hear, sense, somehow communicate with them. Because you need to hear them, you need to be able to... If you have your astral vision developed, you'll see something, even if it's just colors. And that was how I started, was I couldn't see fine details. I could kind of see blurs, colors, energy. I was like, okay, this one has, a dark blue energy or a violet energy. So I know they're over there. I can see it when I close and shift into astral view.
That's layer attunement. I know, like in dreams, even if you they exist at their vibrational level. You exist at your vibrational level. All spirits and entities and demons I know have different vibrational levels that they exist at. Mm-hmm. And if you're not attuned to that vibrational level, you're not going to be able to hear them. You're not going to be able to see them. And you're not going to be able to really interact with them. I know that's one thing that I've struggled with at times in dreams, not lucid dreams, but dreams that I just have, is I know they're there, mm-hmm. but I can't shift myself to a vibration where I can see them. So I just see like this hazy patch, yes. or this energy, and it's like, oh, I know who that is because I recognize the energy, but I can't see them. That frustrates me.
Yeah,
it's like my most developed sense, of course, is clairsentient. So it's like, well, I can sense you, but I can't see you.
Yeah, I've had that in dreams before too, where it's like I know you're there, and I can't see them. Mm-hmm. And that actually was how it was at first with me for astral projection. I could see the energy, I could sense them, and I could hear them because I was naturally clairaudient, but actually seeing what they looked like, I really wanted that, so I had to build that up.
So how did you do that? How did you tune yourself to visually seeing them?
Well, I was actually going to mention something about attunement, because I think, and you've said this before, everybody is sort of naturally attuned to different energies. Mm-hmm. Whether that be demonic or angelic or something else entirely, fae perhaps. So probably everybody has something they're more naturally attuned to. So finding out what you work the best with and then working with that if you want to go the route of having them pull you out to begin with.
So what did you do to train that?
To train...
your
the
astral vision.
Astral vision.
Yeah.
That actually was one of the exercises I got from you because my astral vision was terrible. I had the third eye working done, and the exercise booklet with that has an exercise for doing astral vision or for building up your astral vision. And I used that because my astral vision was terrible. I couldn't see anything. And that worked. Repeating it, I did it every single day until I could see things. And I did notice a difference. It was probably like several months in, and I did switch the exercises up because they did become boring after a bit of time. Like, it's like, okay, I see this, and there's no change, or it feels like there isn't. But that's also why it's important to journal, because if you look back at the beginning, you'll be like, all right, I do see differently now than I did. But you don't want to do it to the point where you are bored with it. Switch it out with a different exercise, because there was different exercises in the exercise booklet, and switching them up kept it I don't want to say interesting enough because obviously I wanted to do that, but if you do the same thing too many times.
Oh, you clearly didn't have my mentor.
No.
No, he was like, you have to overcome boredom.
Oh, no.
He's like, you have to be able to go deep into these exercises because they're infinite. And it's like, well, what happens if I get bored? Well, then you've got to retrain your mind.
I honestly didn't do it that way. I tried to trick myself into doing things.
Oh, I don't think everybody has to do it that way. There's different ways to do it. There's different ways to do it. I mean, his method was very much that method, but you had results with your method too. So there's obviously many different ways. And I guess my point of this is that don't feel like you have to be grouped into this is the only way, this is the one truth. I don't think there is one truth. I think there's many different ways to approach things and many different ways to train yourself. It's just a matter of finding the one that works best for you.
I agree with that, and I think that's a really good point to make because even as I'm sharing this, what I've done might not necessarily work for everybody. So if it doesn't work for them, they shouldn't just think, oh, well, I can't do this. They should find what works for them. We all have different senses. We all have different things that resonate more with us.
Yes. Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, we're going to be strong in different areas.
Yes.
I mean, there's the big three, clairvoyant, clairsentient, and clairaudient, which is sensing, hearing, and seeing. But there's so many other psychic senses. There's other psychic senses that can be developed alongside these ones. These ones are kind of like the main ones that when you have them, like it's kind of like our five senses. As humans, we're used to having our five senses. So in the spiritual, these three big ones, they can give you a well enough rounded perspective that you can make sense of what's going on around you, even though there's other dimensions to it and other senses that can be developed.
Yeah.
I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
But you usually have one that's dominant, one psychic sense that's really dominant. I honestly, when I was growing up, people kept talking about the sixth sense, and I was like, well, there's more than six senses. I was like, there's, the sixth sense, there's a seventh sense and an eighth sense and a ninth sense. I can't talk tonight, clearly, and they, this is where you hear my tripping over my words, and developing them, when you develop one, you get a piece of the picture, and then you develop another, you get another piece of the picture, and then the more you develop, the more clearer this picture becomes. I know with clairsentience, I feel everything, so sometimes when I get out, I'm just feeling everything, and I hate it. I'm like, I'm blind as a freaking bat, but I can see everything. But not with like, I like clairvoyance because I like being able to see, like I can see here. Feeling seen, I'm so not used to it in this body that in that body, I notice a difference.
Yeah.
And even though I know where things are and can sense things, it still frustrates me, and it drives me nuts at times. So developing that sense can really, open up a whole new dimension of the astral.
Back to like the getting out part, you don't have to have your senses fully developed to get out. You would have to have at least one of them partially developed to the point if you wanted to be pulled out, that you'd be able to communicate with whichever spirit or entity that can pull you out.
And relax. Learning to relax. That's a big one. That's a lot of things. And also not focusing on your body, focusing away from your body, focusing if you're too much in your body and too grounded and too here, then it won't work.
Stress will completely destroy you.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it can actually physically kill you.
I can't when I'm stressed.
Stress can kill you, but it'll keep you from being able to astral project.
When my mind is racing and I've got stressful thoughts, there's no getting out. I'm way too caught up in the physical. Yeah. Way too caught up in the physical.
Meditation can help. Being able to get yourself into a deep trance like meditation can help. And also you mentioned focus.
Yes, focus is so important.
It is.
For every spiritual practice, not just astral projecting. Focus is a foundational skill. I'm convinced that focusing will help in all areas of your life. Not just spiritual, physical, mental, emotional. Focus is so important. It doesn't just help with spiritual practices. It helps with life practices. It helps with studying. It helps with learning. It helps with memory. It helps with everything.
Manifestation.
Yes, manifestation. You need to be able to focus to manifest.
Because then if you focus on things you don't want, you'll manifest that.
Oh, yep. I've done that before too. It's well, I didn't want that. Oh well. Yeah. Always a lesson that comes with it. Anyway, focusing, that's another one to develop. astral travel, because if you can focus, you can actually shift your states. You can actually shift them and get out with more clarity.
I think those are probably like two, if I thought it was two things, what was it? Focusing is one of the big ones, and being able to relax, being able to get into a relaxed state and not fall asleep.
Yes, not falling asleep is a big one. Yeah, I think like in today's day anyway, we're so stressed. Like there's so much stress, there's so much pressure, there's so much tension, there's so much going on. It's really hard to actually find those states where you just can relax.
There's that, and I'm also going to point something else out that I thought of and had experienced myself. It is how connected we are. I could not have any electronics in the room with me when I was training, because they do give off energy. They can, scramble things, and then you think your phone is there buzzing, and people can be addicted to their phones. You think you get a text message, and then it's like, oh, well, who texted me? And then you're focused on that. So I do think that being too connected can destroy your focus. Having electronic devices in the room with you, I won't even have a TV in the room with me. I don't have a TV in my bedroom, which is where I usually am when I astral project. I actually used to even unplug my alarm clock and remove it from the room because I didn't want anything in there.
Though some people, myself included, find using binaural beats and different astral meditations can help when you're having those moments. Though what I do in those situations, I have an old phone, which is it's an MP3 player. It's not a phone anymore.
Yeah.
It's too old and it barely works. But you know what? It's great for just storing these files on it, and then I just plug my headphones in and listen to them.
I will say, yes, I did actually, when I first started, I listened to music, not the binaural beats, just like instrumental things or translate things. And that did help. That can help get you into a relaxed state. Depending on what you're listening to, you'd want to listen to something that relaxes you.
I know. I mean, you want to play around with it. You want to try different methods and see what works for you, because some things are going to be better than others. I mean, you have to get to a point where you're relaxed. So whatever you need to do things to help you relax, to help you unplug, to help you step away from all the chaos and the madness.
Yeah.
And then actually relax, actually unwind and let go and just, be at peace. I mean, one thing that's really good is having a specific time when you give yourself permission to do that. Because a lot of times, like at 3 a.m, there's nothing you can do. Whatever you're stressed out about, it can wait until at least, 6. It can wait. 3 a.m, you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
So programming your brain and basically giving yourself permission to relax during a specific time. And then consistently doing that in a routine. Every day or every week at that time, doing that. Getting into that state and relaxing.
I thought of something else too. Because I mean, obviously I've been doing this for a few years now. But when I first started, I used to work nights. And there was no, 3 o'clock I'm waking up. I was up all night and I would sleep during the day. What I used to do in those cases, what I actually had was earplugs and an eye mask to filter out all the sound and noise. So if there's people working at night, you could try that as well.
Sound canceling headphones.
Those are also nice.
I have a pair. I love them. They're so amazing. They canceled the sound on the plane. I couldn't believe it. That was one thing when I was younger. I hated plane sounds. I hated how loud it was. And then I got on a plane after I got these and I put them on and I was like, I hear nothing. Yeah. This is amazing.
They're great.
Yes. They're also great for astral projecting. I know that on days when I use the meditations, I put them on and just cancels everything out and relaxes. It's great. It's pure bliss. It's pure wonderful. These are all the little tools that we use, little things that we experiment with to see, what works best for astral projecting. You know what? It's not the same from day to day. No. Some days I don't use anything. I just close my eyes and relax and slip out.
Yeah, that's exactly.
And slipping out, that's another interesting experience.
Yeah.
I mean, we all have different ways. Like some people roll out. Some people, you just kind of step out, or walk out.
Yes. And sometimes I float it out. I even change it up myself. Like I'll do different things. Like I have not listened to music or any kind of sounds in a long time because I found, like when I first started, I needed something to sort of relax my mind, but now I don't as much because I've trained that in my mind to do that, to connect, to shift to that state. And I think that's what it is. It's getting yourself to recognize the different layers of energy, shifting into them, being able to sense them and shift your mind.
When you have that focused energy and that focused place, you really have a sense of control. Like, you really can control what state you go into, where you are. You get to a point where you just understand the layers and you understand the energies, and you can just step into them and attune yourself to them.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say, like, if anybody's an absolute beginner, probably to start with meditation exercises and focusing exercises, because those will serve you well, not just with astral projection, but everything, really.
Focusing also helps you in the astral. There have been times where I get out and I've gotten stuck in the floor. I felt like I've been drunk, which is funny because I don't drink. Anybody who knows me knows that I don't drink alcohol at all. So for me to actually experience drunkenness, that was a new one. I felt like I've been in a washing machine, and this is all from my focus slipping. Yeah. You've had times where your focus has slipped too.
Yeah, actually, that would be when I kind of boomerang back into my body.
Oh, I hate that feeling.
That was my biggest problem. My focus was terrible. I would get out and I would not be able to hold myself out for more than a few minutes. I used to time myself when I first started because I was like, how long is this going on? It doesn't feel like that long, and sometimes it felt longer. So before I would start, I would write down the time that I started, and then I'd lay down, get into a relaxed position, get into my meditative state. And then when I came out of it, I would check, and I had noticed that I was dropping my focus. I wasn't able to focus, and I just shoot back into my body, and I'd be awake and I'd be like, oh, it's not good.
I hate that feeling.
Yeah. It's frustrating.
I've boomeranged hard. Yeah. I remember once I boomeranged so hard, I actually thought I had a heart attack.
Really?
Oh, it was a horrible feeling. I hit my body and I was like, what the heck was that? And I was all shaky and vibrating.
Oh, I've had that before.
I hate that feeling.
Yeah, that's not a good feeling, the shaky feeling. I haven't had that in a while.
I haven't either, but they're memorable when they happen.
Yeah, it's definitely a feeling that you remember.
Yeah. Now, one thing I know a lot of people have is fear.
Oh, yes. Yes, we should talk about fear.
We should talk about fear. I was thinking that the boomerang thing, I'm like, geez, I don't want to scare everybody. It's not that bad of a feeling. I mean, it sucks, but it's part of it. But one thing with astral projecting is you don't want to be afraid. And there's a lot of things out there that try to scare you.
Yes.
It's like, we read one website where it's like demon gangs are patrolling the astral, ready to attack you. And we're like, what?
I laughed so hard when I was like, what is this? I was like, if this was the first thing I was reading, I want to astral project. How can I astral project? And it's like, you have to be very careful because you can get stuck outside of your body, and you always have to be able to find the cord, and you always have to be aware of these demon gangs that will attack you. And I'm like, what demon gangs?
The hardest part is getting out is actually staying out. You're not going to get stuck outside your body.
Yeah.
You're going to have more trouble staying out than you are getting stuck outside of your body.
Yeah. Some of the things, though. If you are afraid of what you're going to encounter, you might completely ground yourself and be stuck in your body because you're afraid to get out.
Yes.
So the way I would approach that is to educate yourself on how to shield, and also possibly take somebody with you, like a spirit or entity, guardian of some kind.
Learn the white light shield. Yeah. The white light shield is incredibly useful. There are sludge parasites and little critters that can attach themselves in the astral, but you're going to sense them. That's one thing about the astral. You can sense what's going on around you very clearly. Your psychic senses are hyper-tuned when you're in the astral. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times before you leave your body, you're going to want to just shield yourself. Yes. Surround yourself with the white light and then astral project. Shield yourself and then do the activity, and then you're carrying that shield with you, and then these things will leave you alone. Mm-hmm. But don't be afraid of what's out there. We naturally astral project in our sleep.
Yeah.
So we're doing it anyway. So there are things that are protecting us. There are things, that are designed to make sure that we can find our way back to our body and to keep us safe. So It's natural. It's a natural ability. It's a natural activity. And it's not something that people should be scaring you about.
No, I think that's a terrible approach.
I do too. I think it's basically stopping people before they even begin.
Yeah, I think really, yes, you definitely should shield before you go out, but your shields can probably handle anything. It's terrible to be in a fear-based state and thinking things are going to attack you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I got pulled out before I even knew what was going on, so I didn't have all that. I just was like, wow, what was that? That was amazing. So then reading it, and I see people are like, wow, I want to astral project, and then they read something like that, it can just
shut you down.
Yeah, exactly.
Completely shut you down, and it's terrible. People shouldn't be doing that.
No,
I mean, you should not approach any of these spiritual things from a place of fear.
Yeah.
You should be cautious and you should be educated and know how to protect yourself. But that's like anything in life. I mean, you're not just going to jump in a car and be like, look at me, I'm a motorist driving around and smashing into things. You know, you're going to educate yourself and learn how to drive the car.
Exactly.
And, you know, and so it's like that with spiritual things, but you shouldn't be afraid of it. I mean, you shouldn't be afraid to get in the car and drive around. You shouldn't be afraid to go out there and experience things.
Yeah, and I think one of the other first things I did when I was trying to teach myself control over myself in the astral was the higher world exercise, which I think is also in the third eye exercise booklet. Yeah, it is. I know I got it from something from you. It was in that too. It's the higher world exercise, because that's something you have control over. You create your higher world and then you go into it. And that was how I developed my senses and was able to communicate with my demons specifically while I was outside.
Well, that honestly is...
That's more of an inner mind thing, though.
But inner mind thing, you can astral project to the inner mind, and you can astral project to your higher world, which you have control over, you create. I mean, these are the different layers of astral projection. Some of them are safer than others.
Yeah.
When you project into your inner world, you're basically in your mind. So it's a projection. It's an internal projection. So what you're doing there is you're actually safe in your mind. Well, okay, unless you meet your shadows and things you got to deal. That can be interesting.
Yeah.
But that's a whole different area. But your inner mind is kind of like your sanctuary. And you can actually project there. Then there's your outer world, which is still yours. You're still in control of it. You still sculpt it and create it, and it's protected. And you can invite your spirit guides and your spirit companions to come in and join you and interact with them. And then you can actually venture into the different layers of the spiritual world. And there are different layers. You can be in different vibrations. You can be in different layers. You can be in lower layers. Like there's lower layers that are kind of really close to the physical plane, where you basically are walking around and you're seeing everything that's around you, like in your house. And then you can shift to a higher plane where you'll see some things, but some things will be far away, walls will be different, placement of things will be different. You can then shift to even higher worlds where the surrounding is completely different, and it's basically like you're in another dimension within the space that would be your house. You can travel to different astral realms, you can go into space, you can travel to different layers of the spiritual world. And some of those layers, yes, can be pretty dangerous. I know I've had some interesting experiences out there, but shielding has always helped. Shielding, and if anything gets too crazy, you just come back to your body.
I've never had a problem getting back in either. I've never gotten stuck like outside my body. I have had
I got stuck in the floor once.
I had that happen to me once too, but I was still in the room where my physical body was. I was just outside and trying to move around, and I was like, I can't move.
It's more frustrating than anything, because it's like, why am I stuck in the floor?
It's like, how did this even happen?
It's like I finally get out and I'm stuck in the floor looking at myself sleeping. Now and then getting out, once you get out, is a lot of fun.
Yes, it is.
It's so much fun. And the more focus you have, the more in control you are. Like there's different states. Like we kind of touched on it a bit, where you get out the washing machine state, where you feel like you're being tossed around. That means you really need to work on your focus. In the astral world, if you can focus on things, you can go there, and things manifest so quickly there that if your focus is shifting, you're going to be shifted with it. So you're going to experience this pull where you're being pulled back and forth to different things. And that creates the washing machine effect. Then there's some states where you're semi in control, which again can be fixed with focusing, where you get out and you're doing things. Your astral self kind of has a disconnect from your physical self, and your astral self kind of runs around and does whatever it wants. Have you had that happen? I've had that happen.
I haven't had, well, I've had other things happen where I've been out and I'm just kind of like, I wasn't as connected. It was like I'm just out doing things and I'm like, I have no control. I'm just kind of, I guess it is like that.
Yes, that's exactly it. So yes, when you get out and you kind of are lacking that control and your astral self is kind of wandering around doing whatever it wants, even though you want to do something else, focus will fix that.
Yeah.
The greater your focus is, the more control you have. And then you'll get to a point where you get out and you have full control. You'll be able to do a lot of amazing things. You'll be able to really interact with your environment. You'll be able to interact with your spirit companions. That's really fun, interacting with your spirit companions.
Yeah, it is.
Because you can do so much stuff with them.
Yeah, you can. I've gone and read books actually in their realms and learned things from them, interacted with others. And
what's really fun is astral invocations, where you work with the demon lords that way. I love working with them from the astral because it's just such an incredible experience, because they are there with you.
Yes.
I mean, it's not just like, a bunch of wavy lines and in front of you.
Yeah.
They're actually there with you. You're actually seeing them. You can go walk up to them and touch them.
Yes.
It's amazing. I love working with them in the astral. I have the most vivid and intense experiences. I know that many of my work with them in the astral involves usually like I'm either in their realm or in their in a specific place, and interacting with the environment really adds to the experience.
It does, because it's like we're sitting in the room together now, except you would be there with them in person kind of feeling.
Yes, I love that. That's actually how I first started working with them when I was a teenager. Azazel was actually the first demon I really worked with, and I would astral travel to meet him and talk with him, and he started teaching me about these skills and training myself and focus and concentration and manipulating energy and bending energy. And of course, I'm a stupid teenager at that time. I had no idea of the whole grand scope of it, but I was learning.
Yeah.
And I look back at my younger self and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I do that with some of my earlier astral projection experiences, because I wrote them all down even before I knew. And that's another thing. Sometimes I went back. I had no control over it at first, and I'd write things down and I wouldn't know what it was. And then like years later, I went back and read it and was like, oh, wow, there's a new, layer of this I see.
That's why it's really important to journal.
Yes.
It's really important to journal.
Yeah. Some of it was horrifying, but some of it I found stuff in there.
Oh, I know. Some of it you read it and you're like, well, I'll just rip this page out and eat it.
Yeah, I resisted doing that. I still have all of my journals, but I hide them so nobody will find them.
I think that's part of it, though. I think that's a good thing, to be able to just, without judgment, write about these things. And it's interesting because some things, I know there's this whole notion of what's real and what's fantasy. And yes, there are things that are real and there are things that are fantasy and just in our head. But in order to really actually figure out which is which, I think we have to, without judgment, write them down.
I agree with that.
And then go back and look and be like, could this actually happen, or was this just my imagination being my imagination?
Sometimes it's their personalities too.
Yes.
Because there were so many things that happened and I was like, this is not happening. This is absolutely ridiculous. I do not believe that my mind is interpreting the energies in this way. Like, I'm making this up. And then one of my demons got like songs to come on in the environment that were so ridiculous.
Or have me say something.
Yeah, that was always horrifying. I was like, this isn't happening. I wrote it in my journal anyway. And you lived on the other side of the country. There was no way you saw my journal and then you repeated something. I was like, what did you just say? No.
Usually it's one of them telling me things.
Yeah.
You've done it to me too.
I know. We all do it to each other, I think.
It's part of the fun of this.
Yes.
And part of the verification process. It's like, can we each get the same or similar things? We all start from somewhere, though. We're all naive at times. We're all, clueless. None of us are really masters.
No.
Even masters have things that they can learn.
There's always more to learn.
There is always more to learn. So, you're always challenging yourself and always growing. So being able to look back at who you were at that point and just be like, well, this is where I was and this is what I believed. I mean, it can be a really empowering thing.
Yeah, it can.
I don't know why we need to be like ashamed of it or feel shy about it. Although, okay, I say that now, and then there's certain things that if ever got out there, I'd probably just die. I'm getting there.
Yeah. I try to share some of the stuff I feel ridiculous about sharing, because it's like, you know, people will say things or get things or experience things, and it's still your experience. You should at least honor it for what it is, even if it's not 100% accurate, even if you make mistakes interpreting the energies, you're still getting something. So maybe, you know, you'll see something or hear something and just, it comes through a certain way, but if you look up the symbolism or some other way of interpreting it, you'll look at it later on and be like, okay, that's what they were trying to get through to me, and I got this because I just wasn't there at that point.
That is one thing to really do, is to be open to the fact that you might interpret the energies in a different way.
Yeah.
And you might interpret the energies wrong.
Yes.
You have to be open to the fact that some of the stuff you get might be wrong.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that either, I think, because I always go back and look at what I've gotten, challenge it, see, you know, how accurate was this?
It's good to challenge it. It's good to challenge what you get. It's good to always remain or have a healthy level of skepticism.
Yes.
Like, have that skepticism and just really be willing to accept that what you got might be flawed.
Yeah.
Or might be flat out wrong.
Yeah, and I think people fear being wrong because we can be attacked at times for that, or ridiculed, or, you know.
That's actually, I think, stagnates a lot of us.
Yes.
It stagnates us because that fear of ridicule, we're all wrong at times.
Yeah.
We all have things that we're like, oh. You know, you cannot fear ridicule and criticism. You have to be willing. You have to be brave and bold, I've said this before, to accept it.
Yes.
You have to, if you're going to put yourself out there, you got to be ready for it. And you have to realize that it's not a bad thing if you get something wrong.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing. It just means that you have lessons to learn.
Yes, exactly. And you're growing.
Yes.
You can see that growth. And you will grow through making mistakes too. Because
definitely.
When you get something, say you know, interpret something a certain way, you write it down, and then later on you look at it and you realize you got part of it right. Well, you can adjust things. You can be like, well, why did I interpret this as this, what I got wrong? And then you can look at that. And
it can actually be a guiding line as to where your psyche is right then.
Oh, yes.
Because it's like, okay, what beliefs am I holding that's preventing me from really seeing this? And like that can be for astral projection too. What beliefs do I have that's stopping me from leaving my body?
Yeah.
Because your beliefs can actually hold you here. It can hold you here. It can block you. I know a lot of people have been like, well, I just can't get out. I just can't do this. I can't do that. Well, there might be beliefs in there. There might be blocks in there that are restricting you here. Your own mind might be imprisoning you in your body. There might be this subconscious thing where you think you cannot do it. And you're just convinced you can't do it. So trying to do it and trying to get out, it just doesn't happen.
Well, some people, I think, have maybe read something either that was fear-based, that scared them, or read, you have to do this way, and this is the only way to astral project. This is the only way to get out of your body. You have to, you know, roll out, or...
Oh, yeah, I hate that. It's like
no, there's different ways you can actually get out.
So many different ways.
I think it varies from person to person what works best, and that's why it's important not to read one thing or listen to one thing, but to explore as many things as you can and try them all. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But don't get frustrated and think, oh, I can't do this. Try something else. Like, if you really want to do it, you'll keep trying until you get it. That's what I did.
Exactly. And also believe that you can do it.
Yeah.
Even if you're not getting out, even if you're not having the results, hold that belief that you can do it.
Yes.
It's so interesting because a lot of what we do and a lot of these spiritual experiences, having that childlike
sense of wonder.
Yes, wonder, and just that, you know, that innocence of the world and of what you're capable of. I mean, when we're children, we feel like we can do anything. It's being an adult that we get beaten down, but as children, you dream and you can do anything. So return to that and hold that you can do this, that you can, you know, enter these states. Mm-hmm. They're really not that, they're not hard. We make them hard because we're convinced that they're hard. Oh, that's another thing that drives me nuts. And people are like, it's hard. Only the select few can astral project. It's like,
I don't think
really?
that at all. I think anybody could do it if they tried. They just have to figure out what works for them and where their blocks are around it.
I believe the same thing with psychic abilities too. It's like some people are like, oh, you have to be born with it. It's like, no, all humans have psychic abilities. It's part of our natural, essence. I mean, humans naturally have more than just our five senses. It's just some of us are more open to it than others, but it doesn't mean that those people can't learn to embrace theirs.
Exactly.
It just means that right now where they are, they're not open.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with astral projecting. If you cannot astral project right now, it just is because you're not there. You're not at a place where you can get out, but it doesn't mean that you can't be in the future. It doesn't mean that you can't learn to do it. I don't know which ones I dislike more. Those ones are the fear ones. It's like, let's scare the person so they'll stay in their body and let's tell them they can't do it.
Yeah.
It's like, great, that's motivation right there.
It's like, I don't want to do this. It sounds terrible.
Mm-hmm.
It's a gang of demons that's going to get me.
I couldn't believe that when I read that.
So
Gangs of demons. What was it? Gangs of demons patrolling the astral?
It was beware of roving gangs of demons or something like that. I was like, well, I'm walking around out here with my demon companions. Is it me? Maybe I'm the roving gang of demons. I've never seen them.
I could see that of you. I could see you being the roving.
I'm
the leader of the roving gang of demons.
We don't even know.
Your secret life on the astral.
Apparently.
It's fun though. Oh, and the things you can do in the astral. Shooting fire bolts and lightning.
Oh, yeah.
That's fun.
It is fun.
You can actually shoot fire bolts and lightning, and you can fly. Flying is fun. I love flying.
Mm-hmm.
I love flying in the astral. I also love floating in space. I actually like the astral and just go rotate around the planet. It is round, by the way. I said I'd stay away from controversial things.
It should be controversial. I don't know how it is.
It's round. I've been there. No, I love floating around the planet. I just love just drifting in space. It's such a relaxing and peaceful feeling. I love exploring space too.
Mm-hmm.
That's fun. That is another layer to this, just exploring space. You can shift and explore different spiritual realms too. That's always fun.
Mm-hmm. It's probably one of my favorite things to do.
Mm-hmm. I like to keep a journal of the places I go because I create different markers and portals so that I can go back there.
Yeah, I have specific journals for specific places.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have one journal for one realm I visit frequently and all the notes that I have of who's there and what I've done there. And
our journals, one day somebody's going to find them and be like, yes, I've hit the jackpot.
Unless they all disappear.
Sell them for millions. Oh, I could see that happening.
A mysterious fire.
Mysterious fire. And their house burned down, took all the journals with them. That would be really sad, actually.
Yeah.
All that work. I mean, it's like you spend your life doing this, then it burns up. To summarize this all, you want to find a meditation that'll help you relax. You want to practice shifting states in that relaxed state, and you want to practice focusing.
Mm-hmm.
That will help you get out. Then when you're out, focusing, and basically just playing around and having fun in the world around you. Be open to it. Don't be afraid of it. Don't, worry about what might be out there, because a lot of times what's out there isn't bad, and you can protect yourself against things that are. You also want to, just have fun with it and not feel like you can't do it, not feel like it's too hard.
Yeah.
I think I missed one.
Oh.
In that summary. Did I miss something?
I don't think so.
Yeah, don't be afraid of it.
Yeah, definitely. Don't be afraid of it.
Don't be afraid of it. And we are actually in the process of putting together a course on astral projection. So we're going to be hopefully offering that in the next few months, which summarizes our experiences and exercises that we did, individual exercises that we did, and basically the process that we took in order to attain astral projection. And I actually purposely blocked myself at certain times so that we could test some of these things.
Mm-hmm.
That was painful. I hate not being able to astral project, but it was necessary in order to overcome a lot of the obstacles to help you guys. So
Yeah.
look for that course, and thank you so much. These podcasts are so much fun, and I look forward to the next one. Bye.
Bye.